I'm going to talk to you about why I think it's interesting to go and take risks and kind of enter in a new category. And what I want to do is can ask everybody to consider developing for something that I'm calling casual casino. And my guess is that based on some of the stuff that you've heard here today and a lot of your conversations, I try to put myself in the audience's shoes, and I would say, well, why bother with casual casino? Isn't social casino doing well enough? You just heard social casino is great, making a lot of money. The issue is that social casino attracts a very tightly kind of coordinated part of the demographic market. The same people that actually gamble on the casino floor are the ones that are playing these social casino games. So you ask anybody, Double Down, Big Fish, anybody, any of those players, where's their core target demographic? It's here. It's, in slots, poker, 47-year-old females. This is their target demographic, right? So I would ask everybody in the room to consider who could be playing or who could be interested in this. And it's my opinion and my belief and our company's kind of philosophy that gambling can be extended to all of these genres. All of these genres, in terms of their average age of game players, are above the legal wagering age in America of over 21, and certainly well over the legal wagering age in the United Kingdom at 18. So we would say, look, there are a lot of opportunities out there for people that want to think creatively about other genres to add gambling mechanics to. So hopefully that makes sense, but for those people that still want to do social casino, like, look, okay, that makes sense, but I really, really, really want to do social casino, I would ask you to consider a couple of things. Number one, there's a lot of competition, right? The advertising budgets and large user bases out there, they're now dominate. So if you're a big player, you just heard the previous speaker, they're talking about retention. Why are they talking about retention? Because it's hard to get users, right? That's the elephant in the room. If you're looking to cash out, in my opinion, the acquisition spree is over. That party's over, right? IGT, Aristocrat, Caesars, Zynga, everybody has acquired who they want to acquire. So my guess is that that party is over. So good luck with that. I just think that it's a maturing industry. It's certainly grown rapidly, absolutely. But when you hear industry players, and look, go talk to them, figure out what they're talking about. They're talking about things like improving retention, improving conversion, improving ARPU, right? They're not talking about the blue sky opportunity anymore. So what does that tell you? That tells you that the market is mature, right? They're talking about getting as much as they can out of their business right now instead of going through hyper growth, which is kind of where everybody wants to be as a kind of an indie game developer. With that said, I think there still are areas to grow, right? I mean, if you come up with a new sort of gambling mechanic, we saw some bingo stuff happen a little while ago. I don't know. I haven't seen like a really crazy like Baccarat game. I think there's some pachinko stuff. So I do think that there is some room for there to grow, but please don't do a slot machine. You're just going to waste. I just think it's going to be a futile effort. You're just not going to be able to compete with the people that are out there. Again, what I would like you to consider is that this casual casino area is entirely new. There's no player that dominates, right? Even we're not out there in the market yet. We're going to launch in November hopefully with some of you guys as partners. The traditional gambling industry focuses on the casino, like the traditional casino games, poker, slots, all of these games that have been around for years. What we want to do is be a bridge between the games industry and kind of really take the creativity that I've seen in my career in the games industry and bring that over to casino and introduce entirely new demographics for that audience that I showed you that isn't playing the social casino games today. So hopefully you're like at this point saying, okay, I'm kind of interested. What is it worth to me, right? Because again, what I'm saying is don't do social casino at all. Don't worry about virtual currency. Go straight into real money. It did take me a little while for me to get comfortable with that myself. Like when I joined Gamblit, I was like, yeah, I do this thing called gaming, and now I'm just like, look, I'm I'm in gambling, right? I just kind of owned it, and I would like everybody else to own it too. Just like, look, you should just go straight into real money. The reason is it should be pretty clear. The global gambling industry is, just kind of off the charts compared to what the games industry is, right? Globally, it's almost a $400 billion industry, right? The online portion of that is about 10% today, right? But look, I think everybody in the room should be able to recognize that the percentage that online has of that overall market is only going to increase in our lifetimes, and I don't think that it's going to increase or slow down anytime soon. I think that the rate of which it will grow relative to the land-based market or the overall market is only going to increase. In terms of where can you do this stuff today, I'll point out a few select jurisdictions. We're licensed in Nevada, so we have an unrestricted license in Nevada at this point. We are going to get a license in New Jersey. We're weeks away from getting our license in the United Kingdom, and we're exploring things in the Philippines. All of these markets, extremely interesting. What you're permitted to do in each one of these jurisdictions is a little different. In Nevada, they only allow online poker. In New Jersey, just about any casino game that you can have on the floor, they're willing to put online. Same with the UK, same with the Philippines. In terms of getting into these jurisdictions and getting a license, what are you looking at? It took us a year and a half to get our our Nevada license. It was a lot, and the application process is extensive. I had to fill out 50 pages of documentation. I had to tell them everything about my life since high school. So it's really, really extensive. It costs a lot. That's one of the reasons why we're in business, obviously, because we provide these licenses and this technology to people like yourselves. But with that said, I would say, how can you get involved? Hopefully, I've convinced you that social casino at this point is going to be really a slog. Try to do something new. But look, there are a bunch of different ways that you can kind of capitalize on that opportunity. If you have the time, effort, money, I would say get licensed. These regulators are happy to talk to you. They're excited about what you're doing. They understand that the casino industry needs to modernize and kind of attract this demographic that I'm talking about. So if you have that in your toolkit, go do it. The other way to go about it is to find a traditional online or land-based casino to work with. And again, you should talk to them. They're excited about this stuff. If you tell them, look, we're going to get you games and we're going to attract the 21 to 35-year-old demographic that you guys that don't play slot machines today, they will want to talk to you. So I think that's a perfectly legitimate avenue for people to go down and speak to people. Or you could work with a technology like us. There are other people are out there. Do your homework. Most of these deals are 2 to 3 year deals. You have to design these games with the target regulations in mind, and figure out what kind of genre you're going to make. And again, what I would say is, don't do something that's traditional. Don't do a casino game and then work on the meta game around it. I would say just go straight to an action game or a side-scroller game or an endless runner game or something like that, because that's the kind of content that demographic is going to identify with because they're playing those games today. I did mention the traditional operator path, so I do want to just kind of point out a couple things. Believe me, they will want to talk to you. The advice that I would have for people in the room, number one, don't get stuck in the casino app, right? These guys are still publishing casino apps, right? So if they said, oh, we love your game, you have an awesome game, we're going to stick that next to our slot machine. Probably not the best thing for you guys, right? Because if you believed the slides by Flurry, right, the demographic that they have for that casino app, that it's going to be completely different for your particular game. You can't target your game. You can't target advertise your game. You can't figure out what the ROI is for your game. It's going to be a mess. And then additionally, I would say don't get stuck in a casino app because they might not support the social features that you require for your game. I think everybody should just understand at this point that your game should have social hooks in it, right? I don't think I'm saying anything new there. To be honest with you, that is quite a new concept for a lot of casino operators, right? So again, if you get stuck in a casino app, you may not have the social hooks that that you might be available that you might want. For example, and this was really funny. I was in San Francisco last week at a casino conference, and I thought I said something that was fairly logical, but it was mind blowing to a lot of casino people. So there's this thing called a slot tournament. You can have slot tournaments, right? So people compete on a slot tournament, right? And so I said, look, I don't even understand why these casinos, I'm not in slots, but so take this for what it's worth. I said, why don't you guys have group tournaments? And then, you know, you have a clan, and then I invite you, and I invite you, and that's a social thing because now you feel that you're on my team, and we have a team, and that's going to lead to engagement, whatever. And these guys were like, I can't believe you just said that. Why didn't you patent that? And I was like, well, I'm not in slots, right? So, but something that is so basic, just like clans are, everybody understands clans. So, but that concept is new for the gambling industry. So just think about it. So like when you talk to these casino operators or traditional operators, there's an educational path there. Anyway, I've talked about that. In terms of a partner path, somebody like ourselves or another technology provider that is licensed, they take care of normally the regulated elements. So our system at this point has been certified by the largest testing agency that these regulators use, called GLI. And so we serve up the atomic gambling proposition to the games. We have an SDK and tool set that allows a game developer to define a game event, and the game event then can invoke a gambling event, that kind of stuff. In terms of that path, again, we would work with somebody to say, look, okay, you have a casual game, then let's define a thematically appropriate wagering experience within that game. Then we integrate the GDK SDK. We do have to test it because games that partner with us ride on the back of our official license, and then we launch. One of the things I think is unique about us is that we are talking to land-based casinos. Again, if you talk to casinos want this content, and they're asking for it to be on the casino floor because they understand that the 21 to 35-year-old demographic that go to their casinos, they're having fun, they're buying drinks, they're going to clubs, they're going to pools, they're not gambling on their what's called electronic gaming machines, their EGMs. So it's another a service that we provide to people to kind of get you up there. Okay, so let's say I've been successful, I'm not so sure, but let's just say you're convinced. Let's talk about design then. And the first concept that I want to talk about is kind of this concept of simulacrum. It's a fancy word for saying a copy, right? So my point is that the casino experiences that you see on mobile today are digital representations of physical gambling activities. And I would say we can do better than that. So like seriously, what am I talking about? I would say don't try to recreate a slot machine. You saw some slides earlier that look like a slot machine, except it's in a mobile device. Again, I think the creativity in this room, the creativity of our games industry, we can do better than that. I'm running short on time, so I'll skip directly to where I think the meat of the innovation is. And I think in this wagering sequence, we have a bunch of different steps in this wagering sequence. You choose the denomination, indicate your intent to wager, you serve up the results. What I would say is that most people in the traditional casino industry focus on step number 5, and the player is shown a wager has occurred animation, and that's the real spin, right? And that's the quote-unquote entertainment value here. But I think that there's entertainment value that can be introduced up and down this chain. So for example, in step number 2, a player communicates an intent to wager. You can, in a traditional casino game, that's spin or bet, or you put your money down on red or black. Why does it have to be that way? Why can't we gamify that, right? Why can't you have to complete a quest? Or why can't you complete a level? Or why can't you beat a boss? Or what if your wager is placed randomly? What if you have to do certain things not to complete a wager, right? Or what if you have to place a wager by doing arriving at certain geopoints or doing certain activities? So there are a lot of ways that you can gamify kind of each step of this particular process. And I would say, again, as a community, we're so creative. I think if people just start thinking about ways for you to kind of break this down and introduce entertainment aspects all up and down this chain, we're going to come up with some really cool stuff. The player is shown the wager result in terms of step number 6. Again, this is typically shown as some coins or something like that. What if you do something different? What if the wager result, the animation is something different every time? What if the wager result animation isn't an animation at all? What if it is the introduction of a new level, a boss? What if it is a power-up? What if it is 30 seconds of invulnerability? You have all of these kind of things that we all know in terms of design and kind of in our toolkit as game developers. And all of this stuff, I think, is pretty organic to us in the games industry, completely foreign to people in the casino industry. No clue. This is like mind-blowing stuff that they haven't considered. So, yep, so I'm jumping ahead because I'm a little short on time. Again, in terms of the wager animation, why mimic a physical gambling process? I think that's not too creative. Why would you have to show the same random event animation every time? Do you have to show an animation? What if you showed a puzzle or something different? One of the things I'd also like to bring up is the wager result doesn't need to be in cash. There's a lot of conversation about how digital goods have inherent value. One of the things that we talk about as well is that the traditional definition of gambling is money in, randomness, money out, or something of value. It's actually consideration. Consideration is the legal term for something of value. And then you have something of value that comes out of it. Does it have to be in cash? What if you gave people digital goods? What if you allowed people to have digital goods that they would normally have bought anyway, and then have them, if they don't want to use the digital good, convert that digital good back into money? So there, again, I would just say I'm just kind of exploring a bunch of different permutations, and my kind of goal here is to at least spark some thoughts in the community out there and say, look, I think Dave had some really bad ideas, but at least he had this one idea that I think is sort of useful, and I'm really interested in kind of iterating creatively on it and trying to introduce that into gambling games going forward. So I'm told I'm out of time. As you can may be able to tell, I have a lot of thoughts about this stuff. We've been doing it for quite some time so far. So I'd love to talk to you about stuff and kind of really tap into the creativity that's out there. Thank you.